Screams echoed through the halls of Galactic Station 9. Warning lights flashed red. Sirens blared. Soldiers shouted into their comms. Blaster fire lit up the corridors. Civilians ran for their lives. And in the center of the chaos walked a monster. It was massive, 7 feet tall at the shoulder. Thick black fur covered its body. Its fangs were longer than a human's hand. Its claws could rip through steel. No one knew what species it belonged to. No one had seen anything like it before. Some called it an alien wolf. Others called it a demon. Whatever it was deadly. 3 guards had already been torn apart. A group of armed robots had been ripped to pieces like toys. Nothing could stop it. Until, a voice said softly, "Wait." Her name was Mira. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a warrior. She was a human girl. Small, quiet, nerdy. She wore thick glasses that kept sliding down her nose and carried a backpack full of books no one ever borrowed. She studied alien biology, but most people ignored her, until now. She stepped forward while everyone else ran back. "Mira," someone yelled. "Get away from that thing." But she didn't move. The wolf stood at the end of the hallway. Its yellow eyes locked onto her. Blood dripped from its jaws. Its ears were flat. It growled low and deep. Mira held up her hands slowly, palms open. "It's okay," she said softly. "I read about your kind. You're not just muscle. You're smart. You understand." The creature stepped closer, claws clicking on the metal floor. The soldiers raised their weapons. "Stand down," the commander barked. "Shoot it now." But Mira took one step forward and said firmly, "Don't." The wolf stopped. Its head tilted slightly. Mira knelt down slowly, gently, placing her backpack on the ground. She opened it and pulled out a small cube-shaped device. It played soft sounds, wild nature recordings from ancient Earth. She pressed the button. Birdsong filled the air. The wolf blinked. Mira smiled carefully. "You come from a forest planet, right? I know the sounds. I've studied your behavior. You're not here to kill, you're scared, you're lost." The wolf didn't move. The commander whispered into the comm. "Is it listening to her?" Another soldier murmured. "That shouldn't be possible." But it was, because Mira kept talking. Not loud, not fast, just calm, like she was talking to a friend. "You're not a beast," she said. "You're far from home. You don't know where you are. Everyone's shooting. Everyone's shouting. That's not your fault." The wolf took one slow step forward, then another. Everyone held their breath. Mira reached slowly into her pocket and pulled out a small food packet. Dried meat. She tore it open and held it out in her palm. "I don't want to hurt you," she whispered, "and I know you don't want to hurt me." The wolf sniffed the air. Then it took the food. Gently. No bite. No growl. It sat down, just like that. The entire hallway went silent. The sirens still screamed. Lights still flashed. But no one moved. The monster that had killed 3 guards just sat beside a girl in glasses. Mira reached out with her other hand, very slowly, and touched the creature's thick fur. It was warm, rough, alive, and it didn't bite her. It leaned into her touch. "I knew it," she whispered with a small smile. "You're not evil, you're just misunderstood." The commander finally lowered his weapon. How did you do that?" Mira stood up carefully. "He's not an it," she said. "He's someone. He just needed to be seen." The alien wolf stood beside her now, calm, breathing steady, eyes focused only on her. Everyone else stayed back. Mira reached into her bag again and pulled out her datapad. She tapped a few notes into it quickly, still keeping one eye on the creature. Species: unknown. Behavior: highly intelligent. Aggression caused by fear, not instinct. Responds to sound, calm voice, and food. Fascinating. The wolf let out a low rumble. Mira looked at it again. "Do you understand me?" It blinked once. Slowly. I think I'll call you. She paused, thinking. Fluffy. Some of the soldiers actually gasped. But the creature didn't react badly. It simply tilted its head again, like it was confused, but not angry. Yeah, she grinned. You look like a Fluffy. And the galaxy's most dangerous creature didn't tear her apart. It sat beside her, quiet, loyal. And Mira, she knew this was only the beginning. Something amazing had just begun. Fluffy followed her, not because of chains, not because of commands. He just chose to. Mira walked slowly through the quiet hallways of Galactic Station 9, and the massive alien wolf walked right beside her, silent, alert, powerful. Everyone stared. Guards clutched their weapons. Scientists whispered. Mechanics froze in place. But no one dared step too close. Because Fluffy, the creature who had crushed steel doors and roared louder than explosions, now followed a girl in glasses like a quiet shadow. They reached her lab, a small room, bare walls, books stacked everywhere, papers, wires, data pads, and one tiny tea kettle that beeped cheerfully on a desk. Mira stepped in. Fluffy paused in the doorway. He sniffed the air. His yellow eyes scanned everything, measuring, calculating. You can come in, Mira said, smiling gently. The alien wolf looked at her for a moment, then entered. He ducked his head under the door frame and sat by the wall, nose twitching as he took in all the strange human scents. Mira took off her backpack and placed it on the table. You're not like what the book said, she murmured, opening her datapad. Fluffy's ears flicked forward. I read about your species. Well, maybe. They're not sure what species you are. There's debate in the scientific community. Some think you're a myth. Others think you're a biological weapon gone rogue. She glanced over. But I think you're something different. Fluffy blinked once. Not fast. Slow. Almost thoughtful. Mira pulled out a few food packets. She laid them on the floor near him. Here. Different flavors. I don't know which one you like yet. We can test. The wolf sniffed each packet. He chose the one that smelled like roasted meat. Mira noted it down with a smile. Savory. Good to know. She moved to her chair and sat cross-legged, tapping her datapad. Then she looked at him again. You didn't hurt me. You could have. You had every reason to. You were angry, scared. But you didn't. Why? Fluffy didn't answer, of course. Not with words, but he lowered his head slightly. Mira took it as a sign. You were alone too, she whispered. Hours passed. Mira talked. Fluffy listened. She told him about her planet, Earth, about books and tea and warm blankets, about being ignored, talked over, forgotten. I never really mattered, she said softly. Not to people here. I'm the nerd, the quiet one, the girl who knows too much about alien anatomy and not enough about parties. Fluffy let out a soft sound, not a growl, almost a hum. Mira laughed. You're the first one who actually listens to me. She reached over, slowly, and touched his front paw. He didn't pull away. I think you're more than just a creature, she whispered. I think you're waiting for someone to see you. That night, Mira laid a soft blanket beside the wall. She poured water into a bowl and left it nearby. Fluffy curled up on the blanket without being told. And Mira, she curled up on the couch nearby with a book in her hands, but her eyes kept drifting back to him. Maybe the galaxy just needed two misfits to find each other, she said softly. The lights dimmed. Fluffy's eyes closed. And for the first time, since the station attack, peace returned. But outside that quiet room, a camera watched. And somewhere deep inside the station, a voice said, The creature has bonded. Prepare the retrieval team. The next morning, Mira opened her eyes slowly. Sunlight from the station's artificial sky panels poured through the narrow window. Her datapad was still resting on her chest, half opened, her glasses tilted sideways. She sat up with a yawn, then froze. Fluffy was still there. He hadn't moved all night. He sat quietly beside the door, his yellow eyes wide open, watching, not growling, not blinking, just watching her, guarding. "You didn't sleep?" she asked softly. The alien wolf tilted his head slightly. She gave a tired smile. "Right. Wolves don't trust others to guard." She stood and stretched, brushing crumbs off her shirt. "Well, I guess we should get some food." She opened the door, and Fluffy followed her out. The hallway was full of people now. Engineers with toolkits, officers in uniform, medical droids buzzing around, all busy, until they saw her. Correction, until they saw him. The moment Fluffy stepped out of her room, every pair of eyes snapped toward them. Voices stopped, tools dropped. One poor guard dropped his datapad in shock. "Is that the creature?" someone gasped. "Why is it out? Protect the children." "Wait, is it wearing a towel?" "Yes." Mira had wrapped a towel around Fluffy's neck that morning like a scarf. "It's to reduce fear response," she explained to a stunned doctor nearby. Soft fabric, calming color. But the doctor only stared in silence. The alien wolf towered behind her like a living shadow, his heavy paws making the floor shake slightly with each step, but he didn't growl. He didn't bare his fangs. He simply followed her down the corridor. Like a very big, very deadly puppy. When they reached the cafeteria, everything stopped again. Mira calmly picked up a tray. Fluffy sat behind her like a trained soldier. She looked at the line of frozen aliens and humans. "Is this the line for breakfast?" she asked sweetly. No one answered. She shrugged. "I'll just grab something and go." She placed food on her tray, fruit, eggs, tea, and a few meat sticks for Fluffy. She walked past the open tables. No one dared stop her. She sat in the far corner. Fluffy lay beside her, resting his head on his paws. And everyone else? They watched, with wide eyes, from a very safe distance. Later that day, Mira walked into the research wing. Fluffy padded behind her. A crowd had already gathered. Scientists, officers, even a few command-level aliens in uniform. "Miss Mira," one said, "we have to talk." "About?" He cleared his throat. "You're walking around with a creature that destroyed security teams and ripped open a military gate." Mira adjusted her glasses. "He hasn't ripped anything today. You're treating him like a pet." "I'm treating him like a living being with thoughts and feelings." Another scientist stepped forward. "We still don't know if he's safe. He hasn't harmed a single person since the moment I spoke to him." They glanced at the wolf. He looked up slowly, yellow eyes glowing. A few people flinched. "He only reacts to threats," Mira added. "What happens if someone else tries to approach him?" an officer asked. Mira looked at Fluffy. "Let's test it," she said calmly. "No weapons. Just walk slowly." One brave volunteer stepped forward, a small alien researcher with 4 arms and shaking knees. He walked up slowly. Fluffy growled. "Stop," Mira said gently. Fluffy stopped. The growl ended. Mira touched his fur. "See?" she said. "He listens." The year. Officer stepped back. That should not be possible. The crowd slowly began to realize what they were witnessing. The galaxy's most dangerous creature was now listening to a nerdy human girl, taking food from her hands, sleeping beside her, following her like a loyal friend. In the crowd, one shadow moved quietly. A cloaked figure stepped away from the others and whispered into a device. "Subject has bonded. Phase 2 must begin. Prepare to remove the girl." Quietly. Back in her room, Mira sipped tea on her small couch while Fluffy rested at her feet. "I think they're scared of you," she said. He snorted softly. "But I'm not." She smiled. She reached down and scratched behind his ears. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, it felt like the galaxy was watching something impossible, a monster turning into something more. The station lights dimmed into evening mode. The halls grew quiet. Most officers and workers had returned to their quarters. Security bots floated slowly in patrol routes, and the cafeteria closed early, due to creature presence, as one notice read. But in Lab 7, the lights stayed on, because Mira was still awake, and so was Fluffy. She sat on the floor, cross-legged in a large blanket. A circle of books, datapads, snacks, and strange alien treats surrounded her like a nerdy little planet. She scribbled notes, occasionally pushing up her glasses as they slid down her nose. Fluffy lay beside her. His huge head rested on his front paws. He didn't sleep. He never truly slept. But he was relaxed, his breathing slow, his tail twitching only slightly. Mira reached for a snack stick and broke off half. "Want some?" she asked softly. He lifted his head. She tossed it gently. He caught it midair and crunched once. Mira grinned. "I knew you'd like the garlic ones." After a few quiet minutes, she looked at him seriously. "You know, I never asked what you want to be called." The alien wolf tilted his head. "Do you have a name? A real one?" He didn't answer, of course, but he blinked once, then slowly lowered his head back down. "I didn't think so," she said. "Or maybe you do, but you don't want to say it yet. That's okay." She thought for a moment, then said, "I called you Fluffy that first day and everyone thought I was crazy." She smiled. "But I like it." Fluffy looked up at her with soft eyes. "I mean, sure, you're huge, and terrifying, and strong enough to knock a transport over. But you let me sit near you. You eat snacks. You've never hurt me. That makes you Fluffy in my book." She leaned forward just a bit. "Is it okay if I keep calling you that?" He let out a small breath, like a quiet huff. Not angry, almost amused. She grinned. "Great. Officially named. You're Fluffy now." She clicked her datapad and typed, "Subject, now named Fluffy, shows continued loyalty, social connection, and advanced emotional awareness." Then she looked at him again. Her voice turned softer. "Can I try something new?" Fluffy tilted, his head. She reached toward him slowly. Her fingers hovered just above his snout. "I want to check your teeth," she whispered. "Not for science. For trust." The last time she saw his mouth wide open, he had roared so loud the ceiling shook. His fangs were sharp as knives, stained with the memory of battle. But now he didn't growl. He opened his jaws. Just a little. Enough. Mira's hands shook, but not from fear. From awe. She gently placed her fingers near his lips and tilted, his massive head slightly. And Fluffy, deadliest creature in the galaxy, let her. His mouth opened wider, sharp, glowing fangs. Rows of them, some curved, some straight, thick muscle and control. A jaw that could snap her in half. But it didn't, because he trusted her, and she trusted him. "You've got a broken piece here," she said quietly, reaching into her drawer. "Hold on." She pulled out a soft cleaning tool and reached inside. She cleaned gently, carefully. Fluffy didn't move. When she finished, she leaned back and let out a long breath. "Good boy," she whispered. He closed his jaws and lay back, down, and Mira. She had tears in her eyes, not because of fear or pain, but because she had never in her life been trusted by anyone like this. Later that night, she curled up near him. He made room. He wrapped his tail around her like a shield, and she whispered, "They see a beast. I see a best friend." But, far away behind hidden glass in the deep station core, someone else was watching. Recording. Studying. A voice said, "Begin capture sequence. We'll take the creature while she sleeps." And a second voice replied, "No, we take the girl. Then the creature will follow." The station buzzed with strange energy the next morning. Mira could feel it even before she opened her door. The hallway outside was quiet, too quiet. No workers rushing, no droids rolling by. Just still air and nervous eyes. Fluffy stood at the door before she even moved. His fur bristled, his ears twitched. Something was wrong. Very wrong. By the time Mira stepped into the corridor, she saw them, a team of 5, all wearing black and silver suits with the Galactic Science emblem on their shoulders. Clean, cold, confident. They weren't here to ask questions. They were here to take something. A tall alien woman stepped forward, flanked by 2 large guards, in white armor. "Human researcher Mira," she said sharply, "you are required to release Subject 017 immediately." Mira frowned. "Who?" The woman pointed straight at Fluffy. "Him." Fluffy didn't move, but his chest rose and fell slowly, deep, steady, alert. "I didn't know he was a number," Mira replied, stepping in front of him. "He has a name." The woman gave a dry smile. "You're attached, that's expected, but this creature belongs to the Galactic Research Council now." "No," Mira said firmly. "He belongs to no one." One of the guards stepped forward with a long silver rod. It pulsed with blue energy, a stun staff. "I wouldn't do that," Mira warned. The woman raised her hand. "Don't worry, it won't harm him. Just enough to control him." "He's not a thing," Mira said, louder now. "He's not some tool to study and cage." Another voice joined in, deep and male. "We're not here to discuss feelings," said a second, scientist. "We're here for the subject." Then it happened. A second guard reached for Fluffy's neck. Fluffy didn't roar, he didn't growl, he moved, fast, too fast. The guard didn't even see it happen. One moment he was reaching. The next, he was on the ground, groaning, his armor dented, the stun rod crushed under Fluffy's claw. The hallway filled with shouting. "Stand down. Contain the subject." Mira stood between Fluffy and the guards, arms outstretched. "Stop, he's defending himself. Move aside," a voice barked. "No," she cried. "If you hurt him, he'll fight. And if he fights, people will—" Shy Fluffy stayed behind her, muscles tense, eyes glowing, but still listening, still protecting her, not himself. The lead scientist stepped back, whispering into her comm. Then she looked at Mira. "Fine," she said. "We'll do this. The quiet way." That night Mira couldn't sleep. Neither could Fluffy. They sat in silence, both alert. The guards hadn't returned, but she knew it wasn't over. "They'll try again," she said softly. Fluffy moved, closer, and rested his giant head beside her knees. Mira gently stroked the fur between his ears. "You don't belong in a cage," she whispered. "You saved people. You chose to stop, you chose to listen." He huffed quietly, eyes never leaving the door. Mira leaned down. "If they try to take you again, I won't let them." But they had already changed their plan. At 0200 hours, 2 shadow figures slipped into the station's ventilation shafts. They weren't here for Fluffy. They were here for her, the girl. The night was too quiet. Mira felt it in her chest. The air didn't move. The station lights flickered once. Even Fluffy, who normally dozed lightly beside the wall, lifted his head and growled low in his throat. Mira sat up from her small couch. "What is it?" she whispered. Fluffy stood slowly. His ears were stiff, his tail low. He was listening to something she couldn't hear yet. Then the lights cut out. Darkness. Total. Mira gasped. A second later, red emergency lights blinked on. That's when she heard it. Hiss. Slide. Footsteps. Small. Quick. Not boots. Soft. Sneaky. She backed toward Fluffy, who now stood between her and the doorway, fur raised, eyes burning like fire. A whispering voice came from the shadows. "Subject is in position, take the girl." Mira's heart pounded. She shouted, "Fluffy, watch out!" But the first assassin had already dropped from the ceiling. Fluffy spun fast. Claws met blade. Metal sparked in the red light. The intruder rolled away, slicing through the air again. But Fluffy was faster. He slammed into him, sending the attacker into a wall so hard the panel cracked. But another shadow moved behind Mira. A second one. No armor. No sound. He reached for her neck, fast, silent. Mira screamed, but Fluffy didn't miss a beat. He tore through the air and collided with the second assassin before he could touch her. They crashed into the table. Books, datapads, and glass flew in every direction. Mira dropped to the floor and crawled under the console, shaking. She saw a flash of blood, Fluffy's blood. The first attacker rose again, now holding something strange, a glowing net. It shimmered, like glass but moved like smoke. Fluffy turned, but his front leg was bleeding. Deep red, he limped slightly but didn't back down. The net flew. Mira shouted, "No!" Fluffy jumped not away, toward it. He tackled the attacker again and the net wrapped around both of them. It sparked, buzzed, burned. Fluffy roared in pain. Mira crawled out. She didn't think. She grabbed the nearest metal pipe and ran forward, slamming it into the attacker's arm with all the strength she had. Crack. The weapon dropped. The glow faded. Fluffy pounced, one final strike, and the attacker didn't get up again. Silence. Only Mira's breath, and Fluffy's heavy panting. Blood soaked his leg. His side had burn marks from the net, but he didn't fall. He stood in front of her, body shaking, breath ragged but still guarding her. Mira rushed to him. "You're hurt," she said, her voice cracking. He leaned into her. She wrapped her arms around his massive body, not caring about the blood. "You saved me." He let out a soft growl, not of pain, of comfort, like he was saying, "You're safe now." Later that night, she patched his wounds, wrapped his leg with cloth, cleaned the burns on his side. Her hands never stopped shaking, but her voice stayed calm. She whispered while she worked, "Why do you always protect me?" Fluffy didn't answer. With words, he rested his head gently on her lap. Mira's eyes filled with tears. "I wish I could protect you the same way," she whispered. He huffed, as if to say, "You already do." At that moment, in a room that once held silence, blood, and fear, there was only one thing left. Love, not romantic, not ownership, but something purer, a bond that couldn't be broken. And far away, deep in a dark control room, someone watched the broken camera feed and said coldly, "Then we take them both." The alarms didn't stop for hours. Security rushed in. Lights flashed red and blue across every hall in Galactic Station 9. Scientists shouted over radios. Guards dragged away the two broken attackers, both unconscious. But Mira didn't care about any of that, because Fluffy wasn't moving. He lay on the lab floor. Still, his thick fur was soaked with blood. His breathing had slowed. His eyes were half closed. He didn't growl, didn't twitch, didn't even lift his head when she called his name. "Fluffy, please," Mira whispered. She knelt beside him. Her fingers trembled as they touched his neck. The warmth was fading. "No, no, no, please, stay with me," she begged. "You don't get to leave. Not now. Not after everything." Her glasses slipped down her nose. Tears dripped onto his fur. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You protected me when no one else would. You gave me a reason to stay brave." She buried her face into his fur. "Don't die. Please. I need you." Silence. The kind that feels like the end. Then, a faint sound. A hum. Low at first. Then louder. Like power building inside the air. Mira looked up. Fluffy's body was glowing, not brightly, softly, from deep inside. His fur began to shimmer like silver starlight. Light moved beneath his skin, following his veins, flowing like gentle rivers. Mira stepped back, heart pounding. What's happening? The glow spread. His legs shifted. His paws changed shape. His thick chest narrowed. His snout pulled back. And in the place where the giant alien wolf once lay, now rested a figure, a humanoid. A man. He was tall, with the same golden yellow eyes and long black hair that shimmered like his fur had. Thin silver markings glowed along his arms and chest, like tribal runes, moving softly beneath his skin. His body rose slowly. Not weak, strong, alive. Mira stared, frozen. You're not just a wolf, she breathed. The figure turned his head slowly toward her and spoke, not with a growl, but with words. You called me Fluffy, he said, voice deep and gentle. She blinked in shock. You can speak? I always could. Why didn't you before? His golden eyes met hers, because no one ever listened. Mira's lip trembled. You let me clean your teeth. You ate snacks. You let me name you. He nodded once. You gave me kindness, he said. Not fear, not control, just care. She stepped forward slowly. You transformed to save me. I didn't transform, he said. I revealed myself to the only one who saw me as more than a beast. Her eyes filled again. So what are you really? He smiled. Something forgotten, something hunted, but now, something loved. She laughed through her tears. You really are Fluffy. The door burst open. Soldiers and scientists flooded in. They raised their weapons until they saw the glowing figure standing beside Mira. They froze. What is that? One of them whispered. The transformed being stepped forward, still calm. I'm not yours, no one moved. I'm with her, he said, placing a hand gently on Mira's shoulder. If you want to take me. He narrowed his glowing eyes. You'll have to go through her first. Mira raised her chin beside him. She didn't need weapons. She had him, and he had chosen her. They walked out together, past the guards, past the blinking lights, past the place where their story had started, and no one dared stop them. Some said he was a beast. Some said he was a myth, but only one girl called him friend, and only she ever knew. He was more.